My name is Julie Pearson, Little Thunder. Today is Thursday, September 18th, and I'm interviewing Wendy Tatroult for the Cowboys in Every County interview series, sponsored by the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program at Oklahoma State University. Wendy, you pursued a degree in mechanical design technology at OSU and eventually moved over into the area of design. You are the only woman member of OSU's Institute for Design and Drafting, as I understand
Well,
it.
it might have been back in the day. I don't know about it.
And besides having your own design business, you've helped with some historic home restoration, including your own home here, and I look forward to hearing more about your life and work.
Thank you.
Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born here in Lawton, and I grew up 2 doors down from where my office and home is right now.
What did your parents do for a living?
My father was a local businessman. He started off with a vending machine company, setting pool tables, jukeboxes, cigarette machines, that type of thing. And he also had, the name of his company was Sleepy's Music Company. It's now called Sleepy's Amusement Company. And anyway, he was a local businessman doing a lot of different things.
And your mother, was she at home or?
Yes, my mother stayed at home and was a wonderful mother to all of us. There was 4 of us. She chose to send us to parochial school, so she drove us back and forth to school every day. And she was really involved in the school and the church, and just was a great stay-at-home mom.
And you mentioned she lives just a block away?
She lives 2 doors down.
2 doors down.
She's 92, and she still lives on her own, and it's great that I'm right here close by.
In the house she grew up in, she lives in?
Yes, she lives in the house I grew up in. That's correct, yeah. And my kids, Kyle and Lacey, grew up in this house, and so they were just 2 doors down from Grandma, or Nana, and so, you know, they could go back and forth at will. When they were mad at me, they could go see Nana.
Describe Lawton when you were growing up.
I just remember that the neighborhood was full of kids. It was a young neighborhood with a lot of young families. We played outside in the summertime, all summer long, often barefooted or riding our bikes. We developed really good close friendships with all the neighborhood kids, and it was kind of an innocent kind of a town back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What activities did you do for fun?
You mean when we were little?
Mm-hmm.
When we were growing up? We played marbles and rode our bikes and played Cowboys and Indians, and I did have a few dolls that I played with, but I was very, very much hanging around with my brothers and doing the things that they did. We'd play football in the middle of the street. You know, just I see that with some of the kids in the neighborhood now, but for the most part, kids aren't out all day long in the summertime like they used to be. Everyone wants to stay in under the air conditioning.
And you had how many brothers?
I had 2 brothers and a sister.
What schools did you attend here in town?
In grade school, we went to St. Mary's Catholic School, and then in junior high, Central Junior High, and then on to high school at Lawton High School.
What was your favorite subject?
Math. I did take art in junior high, but in high school I would say my favorite subjects, favorite classes were math classes.
What's one important school experience that might have sort of foreshadowed what you were going to end up doing?
I don't think there was one. At that time, the boys could take drafting in high school. But I remember walking by that classroom and not even having a clue, really, what went on in there, and not having any desire. I didn't feel badly that I couldn't be in it. It wasn't really until I got to OSU and my advisor swayed me in that direction, because he looked at my aptitude test and could see that I had a good art background and good math skills, and he suggested that I take a class in the School of Technology.
So you took your art pretty seriously too then, in starting around high school, or?
No, actually it was more in junior high. When I got to high school, I concentrated more on more academic type stuff. Art has always been a hobby, but not a passion to pursue professionally. I wasn't that talented. My 9th grade art teacher on Parent-Teacher Day told my mother that I wasn't the most talented art student that she'd ever had, but I had the best attitude of anyone that she'd ever had. So.
Well, it's a compliment too.
Yeah.
So what led you to attend OSU after high school?
My very best friend from 1st grade through high school was Tina Seibold, and she had known from the time she was a little bitty kid that she wanted to be a veterinarian. And so logically her choice was to go to OSU. And I didn't have a strong feeling of what I was going to do with my life. I just knew I needed to and wanted to continue my education. And we both liked the atmosphere at OSU, and since my best friend was going there, that was the logical choice for me, because we wanted to room together. And so I went to OSU, and then I figured out what I wanted to do. But it's a good thing that I ended up there, because it turns out that technology and engineering and architectural type things is what I enjoy and what I'm good at.
And it was your advisor who really pointed you in that direction?
Yes, I was at OSU for 3 semesters taking basic requirements and thinking that I might want to go into psychology. But I wasn't really passionate about any particular thing. And so I had a conference with my advisor, and he noticed that I had a good art background and was strong in math. And he said, you know, you might really do well taking a drafting class, because that melds both of those 2 qualities together. And I took his advice, and I took that class, and I was in love with it. From that point on, it was like, yes, this is what I want to do. So then I knew what my focus was. Yeah.
What was the professor that really stood out for you?
In the School of Technology, Gerald McLean and Ralph Brumfield, I think, was the head of the department at that time. Gerald McLean was a young professor, had not been there at OSU for very many years when I started taking classes, but he was such a nice guy, and took me into the fold with all these guys that were in the class. It made me feel comfortable and welcomed. And Mr. Brumfield encouraged me to do some outside work for people that were wanting some of the students to draw pattern drawings and things like that. And then they recruited me to teach one of the labs, static and strengths of materials lab.
Wow.
So you know, they encouraged me, and I to this day, you know, I still have contact with Gerald McLean, and he's still a nice guy.
Oh, neat. And you were the only woman student, is that right?
At the time when I started taking drafting classes, I was the only female in those classes. And there was one other girl that entered the program, I think, just before I got out.
So what was like your favorite place on campus?
I guess Theta Pond.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well,
Because-
kind of like the cookie station at the Union, too. They used to make these great big huge cookies. It was on the lower floor, and everybody could just walk through and buy a
Wow.
handful of cookies. So that may have been my favorite.
Was your tuition and room and board covered? Did you have a job?
I did not have a job, and fortunately, my room and board and tuition was covered by my parents. I was extremely fortunate that they were willing and anxious for me to go on to college and were able to pay for it. So I did not have any of those kinds of concerns.
That's wonderful. What types of activities were you involved in or on-campus organizations?
Not a lot. Once I got into the School of Technology, I entered the American Institute of Drafting and Design organization and got involved with that. But for the most part, I was kind of spending most of my time studying.
And were there other women in that organization?
No, I was the only one at the time.
Did you attend sporting events?
Yes. Went to football games. And I'm sure we went to a few basketball games. But I don't remember being actively involved in attending other sports, although I do recall we had a residence hall flag football game for the girls, and I participated in that.
What do you think was sort of the hub of student activity or interest?
In general, I don't know. There's such a wide variety of degrees and activities and people on campus. It's like its own little city. So, everyone kind of had their own thing going, and what other people were involved in escapes me. But I kind of only remember parts of my own little world there at OSU.
How about dating?
Well, I didn't date at OSU because I had dated someone in high school, and we were in a relationship, and we're planning on getting married. And so that's one of the reasons I spent all my time studying and not doing a lot of socializing, because I wasn't out looking.
Right. Did you have some favorite places off campus?
The Hideaway Pizza. I can't really think of any others at this point.
And did your parents visit you while you were in school, or could you go home fairly often? How did that work?
I think my parents came up for Parents' Day at some point, maybe even when we were first moving into the dorms. But other than that, then I would make it either back down to Oklahoma City where my sister lived, or come on down back to Lawton for the weekend occasionally. Enough that we were both satisfied, but not every weekend.
What are your memories of the town of Stillwater?
It really, my memories of it is it being not a lot different than it is now, except of course it has spread and there's more businesses, and back then it was more mom and pop businesses, and now there's more chains and big box stores and that type of thing. So it was a little quieter and a little more homegrown at that point.
Do you have any memories of the library or the student union?
Yes. That was back before internet, and so you actually went to the library to research and study. And so I spent a lot of time in the library. I remember in particular looking up books that Tolstoy wrote for a sociology class. And the student union, mainly stopped by there for those cookies.
How about Gallagher or?
I don't remember a lot about Gallagher, and of course that was before they expanded it. But no, I don't have a lot of vivid memories of that area.
What was graduation day like?
For me, it didn't. I graduated with an associate degree, but it was in December. It was in the middle of the year, and I would have had to have gone back for the actual graduation. I graduated in December, got married in January, and by the following May, when graduation was, I was in Lawton, married and working, and it really wasn't that much of a priority to me to go back to walk across the stage. So I didn't go through an actual graduation ceremony at OSU.
Did you immediately start working with your degree, or what happened after?
A large part of the emphasis in the mechanical design technology degree at that time was tool drafting. So I was really skilled in designing or drafting out tool parts and things like that. But there was no industry in Lawton for that type of drafting. But there were some young mechanical engineers in town who were looking for a draftsperson. And I didn't really at the time understand the difference between mechanical engineering and mechanical drafting, so I applied for that job. And fortunately they hired me. Even though I didn't know heating and air design and plumbing design and pipe drafting, which is what they did, they taught me. The education I got at OSU gave me the background knowledge and the tools, and I knew how to draw anything, or I could draw anything if I understood it. So they taught me what I needed to know with the degree and the background knowledge that I had. I went to work for them and learned how to do HVAC and plumbing design and drafting.
That's a great background to have. In the so what was the next step in your career?
Unfortunately, Miller and Boyer engineers, who I had gone to work for, were great guys and good engineers, but they couldn't make a go of it in Lawton, Oklahoma, with their HVAC and plumbing design firm. So they folded their business, and I went to work for the local steel fabricating business called Lawrence Tank. And I worked for them for about 6 months, learning and doing steel detailing, which was a whole different type of drafting than I had been involved in. But again, they taught me what I needed to know, and I caught on quickly and was able to produce a lot of work for them. But I left that job after 6 months because I didn't see a lot of future in moving up the ladder and making more money. I enjoyed the work, but I just didn't think there was a lot of future at the company. And a local architect, Ted Horton, whom the mechanical engineers had worked for, was needing a draftsman. And they knew me from working with Miller and Boyer, and they contacted me to see if I'd be willing to come to work for them. had not done any architectural work at that time, but I went to work for Ted Horton, and that's what kind of launched me into building design and architectural drafting.
So what did your work in building design, how did it differ then? What kind of a shift was it?
How did it differ from what?
From what you'd been doing previously. Are you drawing upon all of those areas to do building design?
You mean now?
Knowing them, right.
Okay, well, it's kind of interesting because I got the heating and air and plumbing background and the steel detailing structural background, and worked 5.5 years for the architect with the architectural, learning the architectural side of it. During all this time, my husband and I built a house, and the 1979 tornado destroyed it, blew it away. It was under construction at the time, and we had done everything ourselves except for the foundation. We had someone come in for the foundation, and then we did the framing, the wiring, the plumbing, the insulating, everything, roofing. And after the tornado blew it away, we were still determined to say we had built the whole house ourselves. So we hired people to put it back to the point where it was when it blew away, and then we finished it from there. So at the same time that in my job I was learning all these different skills in the different facets of construction, I was learning on-the-job training of actually framing and building and doing it myself. And 4 years after the tornado, lightning struck the house that we were living in by then and burned it to the ground. And so we were homeless again.
Oh my gosh.
And we were kind of, I guess, a little bit shell-shocked from losing the house again, twice in 4 years. And so we decided to build an earth-sheltered home. And that was during the time, the mid-'80s, when earth-sheltered homes were kind of coming in vogue. And OSU had done a lot of research on them, and I got a lot of information from OSU on that. So I designed an earth-sheltered home that we then built. So just had a wide variety of construction and building experience, along with, what my job was at the time. So here's the way I put it. 1979, the tornado struck. 1983, lightning struck and burned it down. And in 1985, divorce struck. So in 1985, I found myself needing to figure out what I was going to do to be mother to 2 little children and breadwinner.
And how old were your children at that time?
Lacey was 3 months and Kyle was about 3.5. And there was lots of reasons to be sad, but one of the main reasons that I was stressed and sad is because I didn't want my kids to be in a daycare 8 hours a day being raised by somebody else. So, I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to go to work and have a job and raise the kids? Because by that time, I had quit working. I was a stay-at-home mom. I was doing designing houses for friends and family on the side. I had my little drafting, room at home, but I wasn't planning on doing it full-time. I was planning on being a mother full-time. And so I decided, I think I'll just try to get enough jobs to keep me afloat and just do this on my own, work at home. And a really good friend of mine, who was the brother of my roommate in college, Matt Seibold, he was in the construction industry in Lawton. and he brought one of the local builders to me, and that builder gave me my first contract job, as my own little drafting and design business. And that was 30 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since. I've been working out of my home, doing drafting and design work, and it gave me the flexibility in my time that I needed to be a mother, and a breadwinner.
You won several drafting awards, I think, in the 90s, a couple of national design competitions.
Yes, the American Institute of Building Design holds annual competition, and in the mid-90s I entered a set of plans in their working drawing category. So those plans were judged on their completeness and accuracy, and well, I don't guess they could judge the accuracy. They wouldn't know unless they built the building, but just the quality of the set of working drawings, the construction drawings. And I won first place nationally.
Terrific.
So I entered again the next year, and I won first place again the next year, and then I entered the next year and I didn't place. So I decided that was the end of my competition career. I was just going to get back to concentrating on working. So, but anyway, it was kind of nice to have those two awards under my belt and to have my work recognized.
Absolutely. And were you still living in the Earth House, or had you?
No, after the divorce, the kids and I had to move out of that home, and my husband kept it, and we moved into town, and we lived in my brother's rent house, where I set up my drafting table, and much like this, in a big living room area. And a couple of years later, this house became available. Of course, it was the neighborhood I grew up in. It was 2 doors down from my mother. And raising 2 little kids on your own, I realized what value that would be to live that closely, to family. And as you can see, this room is separated from the rest of the house. This was an add-on in the 1950s. And I can see that it would work perfectly for my drafting office. So all those factors combined led me to make that decision to buy this house and move back to the old neighborhood and set up shop here. And that was like 28 years ago.
How did attending OSU and earning your degree impact your life?
Had I not gotten the education and the skills through the program there, to learn how to draft. You don't just hire someone off the street and teach them how to be a draftsman. You go out looking for people. If you're an employer, you go out looking for people who have learned how to draft, and then you teach them how you need them to do your drafting, And that degree, that education, tells a potential employer that you have the stick-to-itness to get a degree, and you are at least intelligent enough to be able to learn what they need to teach you. And maybe it's not intelligence, maybe it's just the background knowledge and skills and ability to learn what they need you to know. So, I certainly couldn't have had this career if I had a degree in psychology. I would have ventured off doing something else. So I thank that advisor who recognized some of the background skills I had and suggested that I would be good at this, because I think he was right. I think I've done pretty well at it.
Are people aware of your OSU connection?
Yeah. I wear a lot of orange. I drink from an OSU cup every day.
I saw an OSU towel.
Oh yeah. There's OSU towel in the bathroom. When my kids were graduating from high school, I didn't force them or strongly encourage them to go to OSU. I just said, you do whatever you want to do. Wherever you want to go, you can go. And my son Kyle, the oldest, went to visit the OSU campus and then went to visit the OU campus. And I think he really liked the atmosphere and the feel and the friendliness of the people at OSU. But probably what really sealed the deal is he got a $10,000 scholarship from the Wentz Foundation. And so that was like
That's wonderful.
kind of the spur that caused him to make his final decision to go to OSU, which of course pleased me to no end. And then Lacey learned to love OSU from visiting there while her brother was up there. And you know, at heart, our personalities, we're just good old down-to-earth cowboy type people, and we're comfortable at OSU. And of course, Kyle and Lacey both have taken jobs there and have both live in Stillwater and work there, so that's where their everyday life is now, permanently, I guess, for now.
Have you remained engaged with OSU through the years?
There was a long period when I did not have a lot of contact at OSU. I was busy being a single mom and working. And so that relationship kind of got renewed when my kids started going to OSU. So
You would go down and visit them?
go up and visit them, yes. Occasionally, yeah. Went to a few games with them. It was always fun to help them get moved into their new apartment or wherever, or go up and do a little renovation work on some dump that they had decided was the perfect place to live. No, I shouldn't call it a dump, but you know what I mean. A few things that are a little less than up to snuff standard. So, but now we have a strong presence with OSU because Lacey works for the OSU Alumni Association, and until just recently, Kyle worked for the athletic department in the academics for the athletics.
Mm-hmm. Have you attended homecoming events through the years or not?
On game day, yes, went to walkabout for the floats, and attended OSU homecoming ball game. There's so much action going on up there on homecoming day. It's a fun atmosphere to be in.
What are the differences between going back to homecoming and your memories of it when you were on campus?
It's all about the same, really. That's one of the things that seems to just stay the same. Theta Pond's still there, and the sorority and fraternity houses still have all of the displays, and very much the same. That's part of why we all probably like coming back at homecoming, because it brings back a lot of good memories, and it just feels like home in Stillwater at OSU.
What advice would you give to students today, or to faculty or administrators?
Well, let me say this. I should have gone on for a 4-year degree. It probably would have made my income producing abilities easier and greater. And when I decided to leave school after 2 years, my ambition was to be a really good mom. I didn't have career-oriented aspirations at that time. But because of life's things that happen in life, I ended up needing the education that I had, and it served me well, for the career that I ended up having. And so when my kids were in school, I just encourage them to just get that piece of paper because it opens so many doors for you. And I remember telling Lacey, I don't care if you get a degree in tiddlywinks, just get a degree. Because a lot of jobs that you might interview for, they don't care what your degree is, they just want to know that you are capable of earning the degree and that you might be a good employee for them. So, no, college is not for everyone. I think there's a lot of people that can do wonders with their life and their career with vocational technical kind of schooling and education, or apprenticeship programs. Electricians and plumbers and carpenters are good ones, are hard to find these days. And so really what any education system needs to be teaching these days is work ethic. Being the best you can be at whatever you decide to do. If it's being a sanitation engineer, great. Just be the best sanitation engineer you can be. Because what I hear from contractors, building contractors, no matter what field of construction it is they cannot find people that want to work and that will take pride in their work. And we're losing the craftsmanship that we used to have and the pride in our work. So, integrity and craftsmanship and pride in what you do and doing the best that you can do.
Do you think your time at OSU has impacted your community? I know you've done some community work with restoration.
Yes, about 20 years ago, the city of Lawton, or the school board, formed a citizens committee to evaluate what to do with a building downtown. The old historic old Lawton High School was then at that time a junior high, and they were needing to expand, but half of the city of Lawton wanted them to build a new school and tear down the old one, and the other people in Lawton wanted them to preserve this old historic building and continue to use it as a school. And so they got input from all different facets of people in Lawton. And at the time, I was a parent of a student at Central Junior High School, and I was in the building design industry. So they put me on that committee, citizens committee, to help evaluate what to do with that old historic building. And through those associations, I got acquainted with the people from the Lawton Heritage Association who were maintaining the historic Mattie Beal home, and it was starting to be in disrepair again, and they were needing help to get plans, to get government funding to fix the roof and fix a lot of things that were in disrepair. So they put me on the board of the Lawton Heritage Association, and I started working and donating my time to help make kind of stopgap repairs to stop the deterioration that was going on again. And that was about 1995 when I started with that, and I'm still heavily involved in the maintenance and rehabilitation work at the Mattie Beal home. About 10 years ago, we got $360,000 in funding from McMahon Foundation and federal grant to completely rehabilitate the home and put it back to its 1923 condition. And so I resigned from the board, and they hired me as the project manager to be the owner's representative between the architect and the construction people and all that, to get the project done correctly and spend the money wisely. And so that's been a great project and interest, and historic preservation is really a passion of mine. And doing my own home here, it was built in the 40s, so it's now older than 50 years, and it doesn't have historic value, but it has architectural value. And I just really enjoy saving that old architectural detail that most people can't afford to build in new homes and buildings today.
It's lovely what you've done here. Are there other cowboys in the town or the county that you're connected to, and how?
Yes, we have a local OSU alumni chapter here. I'm not real active in the chapter, but I know a lot of those people, and they do a lot for the community in the name of OSU. Joe Absher, I think, is still the president of the chapter. And one of my good friends that I designed a pharmacy for, his sister, he's a big OU fan, and his sister is a big OSU fan, and she's a member of that organization. My really good friend Tina, who was my roommate, while being from Lawton, she's made her career in Oklahoma City, and I was able to design a vet clinic for her. She built a brand new building up there several years ago, and then more than doubled the size of it a few years later. And she has the biggest 24-hour emergency vet clinic in Oklahoma City.
Wow.
And so that was a pleasure to get to work with her and get to do that project.
For sure. What can you tell us about your lot, and what should a visitor here know or see or experience?
We've got a great museum that has some really neat new exhibits that will be open soon. You can experience what the 1979 tornado was like in a special room that they've built. It's like you're in an underground storm shelter, and you feel and hear and smell all the sounds from a tornado. Mm-hmm. So I would encourage anyone that's coming to Lawton to visit the Great Plains Museum. And of course, you need to go see the Mattie Beal home.
Right.
You need to see our work there. It's only open 4 days a week.
Okay.
Thursday through Sunday, from noon to 3. But that's really an architectural treasure in the middle of the neighborhood just south of downtown Lawton. And there's a lot of Comanche Nation things to do. There's the Comanche Nation Museum. And I think there's a couple of museums connected with the Comanche Nation. And then you need to go to Medicine Park, which is in the Wichita Mountains just north of here. It was a resort community in its heyday in the 20s. It has a really interesting history. Elmer Thomas, one of the senators, Oklahoma senators, was a big influence out there. Bonnie and Clyde stayed out there, and it's had a sordid history over the years, and it had a really downturn maybe 20 years ago. There wasn't much happening out there. There was a lot of rundown buildings, but it has been revived. All kinds of new construction. Some really, really neat houses have been built out there, as well as all of the old cobblestone log cabins. Lots of activity, music festivals, just a fun place to go. Very unique place with beautiful, beautiful views. And I recently had the opportunity to design a house that sits up on the hill on the east side of the creek that has the best views in the whole community. It's like $1 million views in all directions. Mount Scott, Lake Latanta Dam, and then down at the bottom, Gondola Lake. And that has been a really, really fun project.
I bet. Seems like a lot of OSU alumni and students are pretty loyal to the school. What is it about OSU that sparks such loyalty?
think people with an OSU attitude are welcoming and open and accepting and down to earth. And you just can't go to Stillwater without feeling the fun and the welcoming attitude. You're not an outsider. Even if you're from a member of the opposing team on game day, you're invited in to, have a beer and join in on the game day tailgating, with the OSU fans. So it's just a openness and down to earth attitude that makes us all love each other.
Is there anything you'd like to add that we didn't cover today?
Let me think. When I graduated from the program with the 2-year degree, I got a really pretty nice offer from IBM Industries in Austin. I went down there to interview with them, and my husband-to-be went with me. And it would have been an opportunity to go to work for a large corporation in their design department. And they offered me a job. But ultimately, we decided that we were going to put our major emphasis on his job. And at that time, there was not an abundance of union electrical work in the Austin area. And there was back here in Lawton. So together we made the decision to come back here, and instead of pursuing a career with a bigger company. And I'm not sorry for that. It's worked out so well for me, being able to have my own business and work out of the home and be flexible with my time. And I needed that when my kids were small, and I need it now. My mother's 92, and it's good for her and it's good for me that I'm so close. She can live on her own, which she's perfectly capable of, but knowing that I'm just 2 doors down gives her a lot of comfort, and me too. It's still a good situation. So it always amazes me how your life choices kind of lead you down a particular path, and usually it's the path you're supposed to be on. And that's the way I kind of feel, is like it all worked out okay. There's not a lot I'd go back and change. Things are good.
Well, thank you for talking with us today.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for being interested in the story.